After 4,800 metres, Desiree failed in the last few centimetres. Angler Parade pipping it at the post to pay $4.20 and $1.80. The favourite Richard Cranium finished third. The trifecta paid $84.50. It was a day for backmarkers at Flemington. The leaders also run down in the lucky last over 1,800 metres. Providing Light paid $6 and $2.50, the trifecta $133.30. Racing was also at Sydney. Our best race 7 over 2,000 metres. Our Mr Kinman got the money. It paid $4.50 and $1.80, the trifecta a tad under $50.
With both teams in striking range of a semi-finals berth, the Mariners enjoying a winning streak and Adelaide wanting to make the long trip worthwhile, last night's match was going to be a tough one. Add torrential rain and it became a long slogging match. The Mariners' Tony Iro put the first points on the board. Within striking range of the Mariners' line and handed a penalty, Adelaide opted for 2 points, but may have regretted it as the game slogged on in the mud. With only minutes left, Adelaide centre Solomon Kiri went over from a well-placed bomb, but the video referee disallowed it. The camera gave the Mariners the benefit of the doubt when winger Keith Beecham slid in out wide off a quick pass, wrapping up the match 10-2. Battling a 5-year losing streak at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, the Sydney Kings looked like getting the edge on the Falcons. Matt Nielsen had a part of everything. The Falcons called on to tighten up their defence. The Falcons trailed at every break, but a big second-half scoring effort by captain Butch Hayes and the dominance of centre Ben Melmoth saw Newcastle draw away at the finish. Final score, Newcastle 97, Sydney 86. The Falcons jetted out this morning to take on the Brisbane Bullets in the second leg of the weekend's road double draw. "37 teams from all over Australia and New Zealand are in the city for a week of competition, training and awards. The New South Wales Country men's side ran away 129-49 against the Northern Territory today. The New South Wales Country women's side beat Tasmania 80-56. Victoria is the defending state and also performing well going into the second round of the competition. Meanwhile, in the NBN Soccer League, Western beat Broadmeadow and Cessnock recorded its first win of the season against Belmont Swansea. In the Newcastle men's hockey competition, the Tigers defeated the Phantoms and North's too strong for Wests.
BHP management today defended its use of surveillance cameras at its Tubankers plant, saying a growing drug problem amongst workers was putting lives at risk. The company says evidence of both heroin and marijuana use has been found on the premises and that many workers had complained about the drug habits of other staff.
It's a way of getting to the heart of the problem ASAP. Look, this is heavy industry. We can't afford to have people under the effects of either alcohol or other illegal drugs per se.
On Friday night, 450 workers went on strike after a hidden camera was discovered by 2 employees who saw themselves on screen while tuning in a television. When workers assembled this morning to decide whether or not to end the strike, they were outraged to find the cameras had not yet been removed. They voted to stay out for another 24 hours and resolved to hold a summit with management on finding alternative solutions to the drug problem.
An invasion of privacy in regard to the use of cameras, and the other one, well, if there's a problem and the companies say that there's a problem, we're prepared to sit down and actively work to it.
We now welcome the fact that we will have a much broader community to be able to take advice from as to how we address this problem.
Although the 4 cameras were eventually removed later in the day, the company would not rule out their use if tomorrow's summit fails to adequately address the drug problem. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
A total of 89 jobs have been lost in the past month at Ganninan's Lansdowne Road plant. Last month, 30 contract employees had their jobs terminated, while another 19 workers accepted voluntary redundancy. The company says it's suffering from a downturn in manufacturing and there just isn't enough work.
The primary reason is we're starting to run out of work. Some major contracts have now come to an end. We'd hoped by now that we would have won or secured some other contracts which have been delayed decision making, so they will be coming up. We haven't lost them, but they've just been delayed.
Ganninan has been in Taree since 1982. At its height, Ganninan had over 300 workers, building mining equipment and railway carriages. It now employs around 200. The company is currently searching for new opportunities, setting up offices in Asia.
We've built up a very good work team here, and it's a shame we've had to let some of these people go. They've obviously got young families around the place and mortgages, and it's been our commitment to try and keep people here as long as we can. We're not going out of business, we're just slowing down a little bit, and we hope to build back up to where we were.
There is a glimmer of hope. The company is on the shortlist to build rail carriages for the very fast train project linking Sydney and Canberra. However, even if the company wins the contract, work won't begin for at least 18 months. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Meanwhile, a number of injuries are forcing the Hunter Mariners to shuffle players for this weekend's crucial game against the North Queensland Cowboys.
This week is probably crunch time for us, and they won't be easy, North Queensland.
Star halfback Noel Goldthorpe replaces Brett Kamali, out for at least 3 weeks with a fractured hand. Key players Kevin Iro and Robbie Ross have been named as reserves pending fitness tests, although coach Graham Murray is doubtful they'll get a run. Someone not short on fitness and form is Richard Swain, sure to get off the bench to help rope in the Cowboys.
The moth doesn't like to be replaced, and he's a bit like every footballer. Richard made an impact when he came in the other night, particularly from dummy half, and there was a couple of crucial tackles he made.
The Mariners have gained a new shipmate in the form of Tyron Smith, who left the Cowboys to be closer to his family in Sydney. The 23-year-old Kiwi will play in reserve grade for the clash against his old team.
I'm looking forward to it, you know. It's always good to go back and play the old side, I suppose. And I'm just looking forward to playing football.
Simone Cobb, NBN News. The driver of a delivery van was unloading mail bags at Mayfield Post Office when confronted by a masked man at around 6:30 this morning.
He brandished a silver barrel pistol type object at the driver, then forced the driver to go right to the rear of the post office, and then he took the truck himself.
The robber then sped away down Valencia Street, where he changed vehicles, taking all the bags with him. The mail, mostly letters and documents, was due for delivery to private boxes at Jesmond, Waratah, Lambton, New Lambton and Mayfield. Police are unsure what the bandit was after, but advise people affected to cancel cheques they sent in the mail.
Obviously it's for the property that's contained within it, and we've got to try and ascertain now the type of property that was within the van.
The bandit is tall, with a medium to solid build, and was seen wearing blue overalls with a black jumper and gloves. Australia Post Security Service and the police have launched a full investigation. Enquiries regarding missing mail should be directed to Rod Preston on 02 9202 6962. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Regardless of race or colour, signs of the KKK send shivers down most people's spines. No one more so than Rick Griffiths, coordinator at the Minderibba Aboriginal Centre in Medford, which has become a target.
I was actually sickened by the sight of what we discovered.
The lettering has been branded on 3 parts of the building, including a wall forming part of a new playgroup area opened yesterday. Vandals also tried to prise off a strip of corrugated iron in an attempt to get inside the centre. It's not the first time the centre has been attacked. Last month, security guards on night patrol found a noose hanging from the front doors of the building. Continuing aggression forced local Kooris to take security into their own hands.
So after that, we turned around and me and another, Trevor Patton, were taken in turns of camping so that we could know nothing had set us back from opening the building.
This latest attack highlights the area's continuing crime problem. Last month, angry residents met to discuss violence in their community following the murder of 47-year-old Philip White at Medford Railway Station. Today, they're still seeking answers.
There is a lot of racial tension within the area itself, and it's just another injustice towards our people.
Despite the setback, work on the centre continued today, while police have begun an investigation. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. Most of us don't need to be reminded that exercise is healthy for the body. Now it seems it's good for the economy too. That's the message from this week's Leisure Conference, encouraging people to get out and about and explore the Newcastle region.
Tourism as one subset of leisure has been touted as being one of the areas that we might look at in terms of filling the void of BHP.
Dr Brown has joined nearly 100 delegates at the 3rd Annual Leisure Conference. A joint venture between Australian and New Zealand universities, the 3-day event aims to promote leisure activities and programs. An easy task, according to an overseas delegate.
I see your cycleways and your beaches. I think you've got a lot of opportunity to be active in a natural environment.
The conference will continue until Friday.
In late April, BHP announced its intention to close the Newcastle Steelworks by 1999. Now, 2.5 months later, Prime Minister John Howard has confirmed he'll visit Newcastle next Wednesday and Thursday. He'll speak with AWU boss Maury Rudd and look at where the federal government will direct its resources to help the 2,500 workers who stand to lose their jobs.
He's here for two reasons. One is to listen to those people that will be affected by the withdrawal of BHP from one aspect, and I reiterate, one aspect of their operations, and to listen to that multitude of groups that are developing proposals to address the implications of it.
Meanwhile, a Prime Ministerial advance party was today tasting the fruits of a local factory's export success. The Oak factory at Hexham is selling 25 flavours of ice cream to Korea in a $3 million export bonanza. The push is just part of a wider campaign across Australia to secure a large slice of Asia's $685 billion food market.
This year we expect to do of the order of $35 million worth, and our expectations for next year are $67 to $70 million, and we have an overall aim of getting somewhere around $200 million within 3 years.
The Hexham factory is set to boost its exports capacity later this year with new equipment for the production and packaging of condensed milk for sale across the world. Blake Doyle, NBN News. They don't call it the Arctic Cup for nothing. Last night's semis were played in near freezing conditions. Hamilton had the best of the running early on in their game, Brad Weitzerek putting the Warriors one up in the 21st minute. But Edgeworth constantly threatened, shooting just wide of the mark and at times unable to finish off. The Eagles' pressure was rewarded early in the second half, David Bock equalising in the 50th minute. The game came down to a penalty shootout, Edgeworth keeper Dean Conway superior on the line, keeping his side's cup hopes alive. Rugby Union and the Newcastle Wildfires take on Eastern Suburbs at the No. 1 Sports Ground tomorrow. The Wildfires have been hard at training this week and are sitting in 8th position on the double AMI ladder. And a full round of Newcastle Rugby League this weekend. Tomorrow, Curry take on Central Charlestown at Curry, while Waratah host South Newcastle. On Sunday, Toronto Workers play Lakes, Maitland and North Nelson Bay do battle in Maitland, and Cessnock play Western Suburbs at Cessnock with a late kick-off at 5:40. Blake Doyle, NBN News. From its first display in a Tech College classroom to taking up the best part of the Elders Wool store in Wickham, the Woodworking and Craft Expo offers something to admire and inspire. For some, it's a treat to see a well-turned piece or carefully crafted display. For others, it may be to get a tip or the necessary bits to put together a masterpiece of their own. The expo has timber, tools, recycled furniture, quilting and LED lighting on show. Last year, the expo raised $20,000 for the John Hunter Children's Hospital, and organisers are hoping to bring in $30,000 this year. The money raised will go towards the oncology unit to provide better services for children with cancer from the Central Coast to the Queensland border. The expo is open from 9 on Saturday and Sunday mornings.
The Knights had a light run at Marathon Stadium this morning as the ground staff worked to patch up the centre. Sunday's match will be a test for Newcastle, with 4 key players named to back up from tonight's Australia versus the rest of the world. Robbie O'Davis and the Chief are in the run-on side, while Lee Jackson and Andrew Johns will start on the bench. The Knights are keen for Johns to take the field after an interrupted season.
I'm not real sure what Mal's decision is going to be there, at what stage he's going to put him into the game, but he's a class player and I'm sure he'll be on there at some stage.
The Knights are still smarting after last week's dramatic draw with the Roosters and are determined to take the points against the cellar-dwelling Rabbitohs.
Last week a lot of the guys were disappointing, but we got a point out of it, and this week now they're focused, they've got a job to do, and I'm sure they'll do well on Sunday.
Meanwhile, the Mariners have been dealt a double blow ahead of Sunday's clash with the North Queensland Cowboys in Townsville. Kevin Iro and Robbie Ross failed fitness tests this morning, making way for Gavin Thompson and Nick Zisti.
Yeah, well, I thought Gavin played very strongly last week, particularly under the high ball. And Nick Zisti, he's played strongly for us, and so I think they'll handle it very well.
Phil Hind, NBN News.
North Melbourne may be the Giants, but Ben Melmoth doesn't look up to anyone. It was a sign of things to come in a Friday night wrestle, McGregor stealing the ball before Stiff stole the show. Ben Pepper showed why the Boston Celtics picked him in the NBA draft, but it was Tony Jensen who gave the Falcons a 22-20 first quarter lead. The Falcons fell into the second quarter, Matthew Rees tripping up an old teammate. Mike Mitchell didn't need any help, he badly bruised his ribs and was forced to sit out the game. The rest of the Giants stood up to be counted when it mattered most, to out-rebound Newcastle's walking skyscrapers as the Falcons threatened to implode. Jensen responded with a barrage of baskets on his way to 31 points for the game, but the Falcons still trailed by 6 at the main break. The home team rallied in front of its 3,000 supporters, another Jensen 3 giving Newcastle the lead. But North Melbourne fought back to lead by 7 going into the final quarter. The Falcons came out firing, and McGregor 3 tying it up at 73 apiece. But all it did was give the Falcons a higher cliff to fall from. North Melbourne piling on 29 more points, the Falcons just 11. Pat Reid is 27, the foundation of the Giants' 18-point win. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. Ripper paid $4.70 and $2.10, the trifecta $253.20. Racing was also at Flemington, the feature race 5 over 1,600 metres. Happy Star edging out Basie's brother to pay $4.30 and $2.20, the trifecta just under $90. It was champagne football in beer slops conditions. Unfortunately for the Knights, just over 6,000 people turned up to see the team thump South 30-0, the smallest crowd in the club's history.
It's certainly causing a little bit of strain, there's no doubt about that. I mean, we rely heavily on our sponsorships, we rely heavily on our gate takings on a year in and year out basis. In the past we've averaged crowds of 20-odd thousand.
The club will consider taking out insurance against the weather. 5 out of 7 home games this season have been affected by rain, the empty seats costing the Knights at least $200,000 in lost revenue. The club is also awash with rumours about possible mergers. 2 board members of the Knights have ruled out the Mariners as a partner in a combined competition. North Sydney has been touted as a more compatible match, both clubs keen to tap into the growing Central Coast market.
Whether it's now or later on, whether it's that's the best option, we can only wait and see. I haven't had any official talks with North Sydney.
The Mariners are more concerned about yesterday's loss to North Queensland. The team is yet to win away from home and now 2 points outside the top 5. In contrast, the Knights are now equal third on the ARL ladder, giving the club valuable leverage if the 2 teams are ever forced to negotiate a merger. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Another away trip, another loss for the Mariners at the weekend, but coach Graham Murray not about to concede defeat for the games ahead. Heading into 3 weeks of World Cup Challenge football starting with Castleford this Sunday, Murray is frank yet hopeful the Mariners can stay afloat in both competitions.
Our goals are to win the 3 English matches and then go ahead and win our last 3. We probably couldn't do that. We shouldn't be in the semi-finals in the first place.
The team for Castleford has several injury concerns, but flying fullback Robbie Ross returns. The talented fullback tormented the English in the first round, scoring 6 tries. But as for merger talks, there was still no word.
We can't control these merger talks, and that's, even though it's in the back of everyone's mind, it's a matter of getting on with business.
Meanwhile, across town, the Knights sit pretty heading into the clash with Parramatta, with all eyes on second spot. And with Andrew Johns back to his best, Coach Reilly had little problem in naming him ahead of Leo Dinova.
The bottom line is that we just can't play, the type of football we want to play with, minus Andrew Johns.
The team also includes Lee Jackson back at hooker, with Brett Clements dropping back to reserves. The Knights now enjoy the services of all its representative players in the starting lineup, the first time since the start of the season. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
The battered Holden station wagon on the side of the Sydney Freeway was a sad legacy of a simple mistake that cost a life. 19-year-old Zoe Elizabeth Godwin from the Newcastle suburb of Ellamore Vale was trying to pick up an item from the floor when she lost control of the car. The vehicle veered across the median strip, rolling several times before crashing off the road. The young woman suffered serious injuries and later died in Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital. The 19-year-old woman passenger suffered minor injuries. Meanwhile, a lucky escape for a 72-year-old man on the Pacific Highway at Windale, south of Newcastle this afternoon. He pulled out in front of southbound traffic, a four-wheel drive shunting his vehicle across the median strip and onto the wrong side of the road. The elderly man was treated at the scene for chest injuries and transferred to the John Hunter Hospital. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
This year is a tough one for the 17-year-old Year 12 student from Metford near Maitland. Balancing the pressures of HSC study with a gruelling training schedule isn't easy.
It's very tough and I get really stressed out, but I sort of try and fit my schoolwork in around my swimming.
Kelly began swimming at the tender age of 6, but it wasn't long before it was discovered she had what it takes to be the best. Her strength is in long-distance swimming, and her passion is to swim in the open water. Kelly's commitment to her sport is unparalleled.
I train about 20 hours a week, and it's like 2.5 hours to 3 hours of a morning and 2 hours of an afternoon.
In fact, Kelly makes the 1-hour journey to swim with a long-distance squad at Mingara near Gosford every time she trains. And at her age, Kelly has made what is possibly the ultimate sacrifice. She rarely has time for any kind of social life. Antonia Kidman, NBN News.
Northern Emperor just holding on to score and paid $15.60 and $4.20 the place. The Quinilla $39.90 and Trifecta $2,534.20. Meanwhile, a roughie Saturn Comet got the money in race 4 at Canterbury. $10, 3 and 2, $64.90 and $9.70 the place, $170 and $190. Quinilla returned $239.40 and the trifecta a handsome $3,118.70.
Alison and Michelle Pratton are inspirational teenagers. Both possess a deep concern for the environment and were recently appointed to lead a community campaign to clean up the Winding Creek in Charlestown.
The project is to clean up the creek so it is safer for other people and for the future of other children in the area.
Winding Creek is important because it extends through 3 suburbs and feeds into Lake Macquarie. Its pollution has a major impact on the lake. The $30,000 clean-up project has been jointly funded by the Lake Macquarie Council and the Environmental Protection Authority. Already, the committee has proposed a number of strategies.
We're going to be getting rid of some of the weeds that are living there and try and bring back some of the fish life and that have been there before in years ago and try and introduce more.
Education will also be a major part of the campaign. The committee has discovered that most of the pollution in the creek is unknowingly caused by residents and businesses in the catchment area. Antonia Kidman, NBN News.
Crowding into the Bull Street store, a dozen emotional customers, demanding to know why Forum Freeway Enterprises was closed and not taking calls. Police were called to the scene after the group refused to leave, worried they'd lose part payments made on computers. One customer left satisfied after demanding his goods. Others believed they wouldn't be so lucky.
I feel very upset because I'm saved for the pension. Every $5 I put for me nearly 4 years before I save for the computer and I still not got it.
But the company's director, Keith Morton, has hit back at claims they're going broke, saying the shop's temporary closure is due to supply problems.
And that's all it is. We're taking a breather at the moment. Taking new orders would simply exacerbate that problem. We feel this is the best course of action for all customers.
Mr Morton blames the customers' fears on rumours and innuendo, which he claims are fuelled by rival companies affected by Forum's discount pricing policy.
When we've organised new supply lines and we know that they're secure and we can deliver what we need to deliver, we'll reopen the doors and continue on with business.
Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
One of 24 parades to be held, it involves more than 1,000 local singers, dancers and entertainers. Some groups added the finishing touches to their routines last night for Sunday's parade that starts near Royal Newcastle Hospital before winding down to Civic Park for a day of entertainment. Several former Olympians are expected to attend, including basketballer Damien Keogh and softballer Newcastle's own Natalie Ward.